wants ultimately in Ukraine?
I think he wants to stop fighting. I see that. We spoke long and hard. Steve Witkoff was with him for a very extended period, like about 3 hours. I think he wants to stop fighting. They have a big, powerful machine, you understand that. And they defeated Hitler and they defeated Napoleon. You know, they've been fighting a long time. They've done it before. And but I think he'd like to. I think he would like to stop fighting.
On your timing of your meeting with Putin in Saudi Arabia?
No, no time set, but it could be very soon.
Like this month,
well,
or
it'll be soon. We'll see what happens. But they're meeting right now, and that's more. I mean, this should have been done 4 years ago, 3 years ago, before it started. But it should have been done immediately after it started, as opposed to now, 3 years later. Do you have any questions, please?
Sure. Did you speak to Secretary Rubio this morning?
I did.
What is the latest with the negotiations in Saudi Arabia?
We're moving along. We're trying to get a peace with Russia, Ukraine, and we're working very hard on it. It's a war that should have never started.
Do you expect Zelensky to be involved in these conversations? What will his role be?
I do. He will be involved, yes.
Based on your conversations with President Putin, what do you think he wants ultimately in Ukraine?
No, I think he wants to stop. That was my question to him. Because if he's going to go on, that would have been a big problem for us. And that would have caused me a big problem, because you just can't let that happen. I think he wants to end it, and they want to end it fast. Both of them. And Zelensky wants to end it too. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Это мощный сигнал о том, что теперь будем пытаться решать проблемы посредством диалога. И теперь будем говорить о мире, а не о войне. Ведь что было с предыдущей администрацией? Никакого диалога, война до конца. Это была официальная позиция предыдущей администрации. Судя по заявлениям президента Трампа, решаем проблемы через диалог. Никакой войны, нужен мир. Такая позиция, по идее, любому здравомыслящему человеку или государству должна импонировать больше.
И в Россию в любой момент. Соответственно, президент Трамп тоже может приехать, когда захочет.
Ну, конечно.
Когда согласуем разрешить эти условия. День Победы пока не детально не рассматривается.
Президент Путин будет рад приветствовать всех глав государств мира, которые готовы разделить с нами радость и гордость за этот день.
Good evening, hello and welcome. You're watching Nation at 5 here on CNN News 18 with me, Poonam Burde. The big story we're tracking at this hour is the controversy that has been triggered back home over revelations that were made by Elon Musk, who heads the Department of Government Efficiency in the United States. He spoke about funds that came in from USA to several other countries, which are now going to be cut. What's interesting for India was that one of those spoke about a $21 million fund that was given to India for what he claimed was voter turnout management. Now that has triggered a massive controversy over where exactly these funds went. It talks about an MOU that was signed by one of the agencies that worked with USAID, which is a humanitarian arm of the US government, with the Election Commission of India, an MOU or a Memorandum of Understanding that was signed between the two back in 2012. That has now triggered a massive political controversy here, with the BJP questioning the then government back in 2012, which was the Congress-led UPA.
Why do you believe that there has to be an inquiry into these $21 million that came through SEPS, and SEPS then eventually gave it to what is called the International Foundation for Electoral Systems, or IFES, with whom the Election Commission of India had an MOU dating back to 2012?
Say, this is not just about that particular payment. You see, first of all, why does a US agency or any foreign agency have to be involved in trying to get involved in our internal policies, our internal politics, whether or not we want to vote, don't want to vote, that's surely between us. What has it got to do with a foreign agency? Secondly, this is not the only place this is happening. This is a part of a much wider network. That's why please don't only look at this 21 million. I have been writing now for many years about the huge amounts of funds, which is not just USAID, but Open Society and many other foundations, Rockefeller, Ford and so on, who have been operating in India or influencing things in India using all kinds of funding. So I will give you a few examples and then you will understand how this works. So let's talk about stuff which is outside India first, and then I will come to how many of these agencies work inside the government. Some of the work that may do even is good, but then they begin to influence all kinds of other things as well. So let me give you one example.
Okay.
You have been seeing for the last few years a large number of these suddenly global indices of various kinds, you know, democracy index, freedom index, all of these kinds of index. Have you noticed this or not?
Yes.
And in all of them, systematically India does badly and ridiculously badly. I know, so there's one, for example, press freedom index, in which we do even worse than Afghanistan. And you know, we will routinely be not even in the top 100 democracies in the world in many of these rankings. So the point is, earlier we used to just say that maybe you know they are misguided, maybe there is they don't understand, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, if you dig a little bit deep, you will find that all of these bodies, whether it's Varieties of Freedom Institute in Stockholm or Freedom House in the US, etc., they are funded by the same agencies, the same Open Society, same USAID, same Ford, Rockefeller, etc. Those 4-5 agencies fund all of them. And all of them have a certain language, a certain pitch they make. And it's not by chance. And it's also not harmless, because all of this has real world implications. This ends up in our sovereign ratings. This is the data, these rankings, global rankings are then used to train artificial intelligence, which then marks the default responses of various AI systems. So all of this was being done for many years, and I have been writing about this, how these indices are all absolutely fraudulent. They are based on dubious methodologies, they are based on all kinds of so-called surveys and opinions of people who they don't tell us who those people are. So I have been fighting about this, writing paper after paper, newspaper article after article about this. And USAID is very much part of that agenda, and funding of this system of creating certain narratives and creating the data layered system of data for this. So this 21 million, whatever they have used for, I don't know, but that we'll find out hopefully soon. But let me tell you that all of this is funded by this same group cabal of donors running a certain agenda, and similar things are done within India as well.
So is there a money trail to establish this $21 million that was actually sent from one of the NGOs via USAID to India, to the Election Commission? Is there that trail that can be established? And what exactly is that trail? That's something my colleague Arunima decoded.
Elon Musk's DOGE has claimed that 21 million US dollar was paid to Indian NGOs, and this was a money that was routed via USAID. This has set off a huge political controversy here in India, with the Bharatiya Janata Party accusing then UPA government of trying to subvert the democratic process. But the big question is, how was this money really routed to India? Scrutiny of websites of NGOs that work in India in the field of elections, NGOs were associated with CEPPS, suggests that money reached CEPPS from USAID and then was routed to these NGOs. CEPPS, or the Consortium for Elections and Political Process Strengthening, was a consortium that was founded back in 1995. 3 NGOs, International Foundation for Electoral Systems or IFES, International Republican Institute or IRI, and National Democratic Institute NDI were part of CEPPS. CEPPS depended on IFES or the International Foundation for Electoral System, and the other 2, International Republican Institute and National Social Democratic Institute to fund various NGOs worldwide. IFES and NDI have collaborated with various NGOs and even signed an MOU with Election Commission of India. So they were in a way the arm of PPES, IFES and NDI were collaborating and taking forward whatever role the consortium wanted to play here in India. Now, former Election Commissioner of India, S.Y. Qureshi, confirmed through a social media post that in 2012, the Election Commission of India did sign a memorandum of understanding with IFES for training of election officials. He clarified that no financial transaction were part of this MOU. However, concerns are being raised if crucial election-related data available with the Election Commission of India was shared with IFES and the NGOs that they were funding, and if this data was then misused. Bharatiya Janata Party's Amit Malviya has alleged that this was an attempt at voter subversion. BJP has also claimed that IFES was linked to Soros's Open Society Foundation. NDI allegedly routed funds to another NGO, the Asian Network for Free Election, or ANFREL, which is also under scanner. Now, if you go through the audit reports, what is important to highlight here is that the websites of both USAID as well as the consortium, which is CEPPS, both their websites have been defunct ever since this controversy arose. So there's no way to go back to their websites and check how the funding was done, what was the source of the fund, where was this fund ultimately diverted to, who were the beneficiaries. So one has to depend on the websites of other associated NGOs, some of whom we just listed out, and other open source data available from various sites of the US government. Now, if you scrutinize all of them and look at the previous audit reports of these organizations, it seems that since 2008, close to $4 billion have been routed from USAID to CEPPS, and this money has then been forwarded or routed to other NGOs. Indian government is yet to order an inquiry to flag off the corrupt practices as are being alleged or the money laundering allegations, but the revelation has definitely added yet another layer of intrigue as far as the process of electioneering in India is concerned. Rahul Gandhi-led opposition has been raising questions about conduct of elections, be it in Maharashtra or in Delhi, whether the total number of voters in the voter list, have there been any addition or deletion, wrongful addition or deletion from these lists. And now BJP is questioning in turn if this attempt to subvert elections have been on since 2012. Of course, Congress has hit back and said that it's in 2014, it was the Bharatiya Janata Party government which came to power. So where does Congress being any beneficiary, where does that question really arise? So we'll have to wait and see if the Indian government orders any kind of inquiry. If there is any violation of the foreign funding, then of course the main legal framework will be FCRA, the Foreign Contributions Regulation Act. These NGOs who have been allegedly receiving money from the consortium, NGOs which have worked with other NGOs here, two of them have been flagged off. We are not naming them, but these are big ticket NGOs known to have some credibility as far as election numbers are concerned, democratic reforms are concerned. It seems that money was routed to them as well. So since 2012, this alleged attempt to subvert is what BJP alleges. We have reasons to believe that since 2008, USAID was routing this money to various Indian organizations, and since their websites are defunct, we'll have to wait and see if an inquiry is ordered by Indian government to get to the bottom of all the allegations being made.
Now, an inquiry is required as far as these allegations go. Pallavi joining us, getting us more details. Pallavi, are we looking at an investigation ordered by the central government? Because from what we've gathered from our sources that you've spoken to as well, they do believe that it's not just allegations and there is credible evidence to back these claims.
That's right. In fact, what we are picking up by way of a government sources is that they have an issue on 3 points. One, why is it that the UK, even when it was on its way out, actually opened up the entire system for foreign intervention? The Election Commission of India, for that matter, why was it also opened up to the foreign system? And this is absolutely unacceptable. And that is exactly what the probe or the point of investigation is going to be all about. How and the money was distributed, who were the ones who got the transactional benefit, and which are the parties involved, which was the ecosystem, and whether there was a cabal which was involved in this. However, what government is telling us is that these are very lengthy, mammoth transactions. It's going to take quite some time. And because it's going to take quite some time, one cannot come to any decision or action in a hurry. But however, the government makes it very clear that first of all, the election mechanism was one in which the UPA tried to ensure that there were foreign powers intervention taking place, which is unacceptable because the EC is capable of conducting free and fair elections on its own. But having said that, they have to pay a price. That's exactly the buzzword which is coming in by way of the government sources.
Right, Pallavi, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. But the fight that has been triggered here back home is only escalating, with the BJP trying to put the grand old party on the mat. Let's listen into some of those reactions.
This shocking revelation that organizations like USAID were funneling crores of rupees to organizations in India just confirms that all of these protests that we were seeing over the last several years were foreign funded. They were being instigated and puppet mastered from across the border, and that there are people in India, including political leaders, dynasts, who have essentially become weapons in the hands of countries and people who do not want to see India rise. So my appeal is today, and indeed every Indian today should come together and ask for these type of people to be exposed, these traitors to be exposed, and them to be prosecuted.
भारत के इलेक्शन प्रोसेस, जबकि फैक्ट ऑफ द मैटर यह है कि 2020 में आप याद करिए जब अमेरिका में चुनावी प्रक्रिया को लेकर अनेक प्रकार के प्रश्न उठे थे तो भारत की चुनावी प्रक्रिया की तारीफ की गई थी कि जो इलेक्शन वोटर सिस्टम हमारे यहां है, वोटर आईडी कार्ड वाला, वो उनके यहां होना चाहिए। परंतु ये कौन सी शक्तियां हैं जो भारत में इस प्रकार चुनावी प्रक्रिया को प्रभावित करने, परिवर्तित करने या उसके अंदर कोई समस्या उत्पन्न करने के हेतु से आर्थिक अनुदान पाती हुई दिखाई पड़ रही थी, ये बहुत गहरा संदेह हमारे मन में उत्पन्न होता है। देश के ऊपर आघात करने के एजेंडा बहुत साफ है कि विदेशी शक्तियों के लिए जो भारत के विरोधी शक्तियां हैं, उनके लिए कांग्रेस की मोहब्बत की दुकान है, जिसमें मोहब्बत सोरस से भी है, मोहब्बत चाइना से भी है, और भारत के अंदर एक दूसरे से लड़ाने का विधान है।
देखिए, अगर कोई ऐसा विषय है तो भारत सरकार इस बारे में आवश्यक होगा तो अमेरिकी सरकार से बात करेंगे।
Why would any US agency wish to give $21 million for election-related work in India? Would that not amount to interference in India's electoral process? We are the world's largest democracy. Free and fair elections are held here. Institutionally, there are mechanisms that ensure free and fair elections, including the Election Commission of India. In the past, we've seen certain political parties, like the Congress, even engaging with organizations like Cambridge Analytica, which was with an attempt to somehow create some kind of influence that may change around or interfere with the election process. So certainly if anyone has received money under it, that has to be made clear. And certainly if something like that is being stopped, it is in the larger interest of freedom of democracy without interference.
स्वागत योग्य है कि हमारे इंटरनल मैटर्स पर कोई विदेशी फंडिंग क्यों हो। ऐसी जानकारी आती है कि फंडिंग एक किसी एजेंसी के थ्रू यहाँ पर आती थी और सोरस की वह फ्रंट कंपनी थी, एजेंसी थी यहाँ पर। हम स्वागत करते हैं क्योंकि लोकतंत्र के अंदर किसी भी लोकतंत्र के अंदर विदेशी फंडिंग का या विदेशी ताकतों का कहीं किसी प्रकार का इंटरफेरेंस नहीं होना चाहिए।
Shifting focus now to news coming in as far as India's crackdown on terror goes. What we've learned exclusively from our sources within the intelligence agencies and the security agencies is that there is a new terror crackdown policy that is being implemented in Jammu and Kashmir. A top source within the Jammu and Kashmir administration has now told us that in a recent crackdown, J&K government has dismissed 3 government employees. This is under the power that's vested with the government to dismiss any civil servant without holding any inquiry if necessary. Ishan, my colleague, now joining us, getting us more details. Ishan, there seems to be a new strategy in place as far as infiltration and pushing in of terror goes, but India's vigil is also up. What have you learned from your sources about this new crackdown policy that is coming into effect?
Well, yes, it's a multiple level approach that the government has adopted, particularly the Home Ministry, where they are not only trying to crack down on these elements, but also trying to ensure that the anti-infiltration grid is alert all the time so that the outside interference is stopped. While as the outside interference is stopped, there are those who are inside creating trouble and orchestrating, terrorism or militancy in Jammu and Kashmir, and also trying to funnel, and also ensure that the pot keeps boiling. And that's why you have the multiple agencies now cracking down on them. And the latest, 3 government employees have been dismissed on who there were serious charges, including a teacher, a forest, and an orderly, and a police constable. All of them have had their history, and according to police sources, as our editor Manoj Gupta has reported, that they were actually responsible for several attacks that have taken place, not only providing logistical support but also trying to provide details, trying to provide food and shelter, and also to ensure that they are able to carry out massive targeted attacks on security establishments, security forces, and also on the ministers. For example, in one such case, there is a person who was working in the forest department who allegedly had passed on the information about this minister. A former minister was killed in a bomb blast back in the time, and he had passed sensitive information to them, also provided them food and logistical support. So the issue is that they want to dismantle the entire what is being called as an ecosystem, while ensuring that those who try to infiltrate are also cornered well on time. And this agency approach where clearly the timeline and the target has been set that in 2026 the government wants to see that Kashmir has reached its full peaceful time and there is peace established on the ground. And that's why these multiple agencies, NIA, SIA, and other agencies, including the J&K police, is pushing really hard to ensure that anyone who has the government services has been getting perks from the government, while on the other hand they have been involved in such kind of acts, that they are dismissed from the service without any stoppage.
But the politics I'll come back to you for more details. Former DGP of Jammu and Kashmir, SP Vaid, is joining us on the broadcast. So thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. We've seen this kind of infiltration into government agencies by Pakistan and its proxies. That's something that is being cracked down upon with an iron fist now?
Yes, I think around 78 people so far have been dismissed or removed from the service after abrogation of Article 370, and this demolition of this ecosystem is actually need of the hour. It's required to be done. Some people do say that unless proved guilty, one is considered innocent. But let me tell you, as a police officer and heading the police force, proving charges in the court becomes at times very difficult. The witnesses are pressurized. They are in fact being threatened. Also, there are technical grounds on the basis of which the courts leave these set them free. So these people can't be drawing salaries from the government treasury and at the same time work for the terrorist outfit. So it's very, very important that this ecosystem is demolished, and a lot of good work has been done after abrogation of Article 370. And I think this is what in the 90s we used to request repeatedly the political governments in the late 90s and early 2000. But unfortunately, this support was not coming to the J&K police and the security forces, whoever was involved. Now imagine a person working in forest department providing sensitive information about the movement of a minister, and that minister gets blown off and killed now in a mine blast. So I don't think such a person has any justification to continue to remain in the government service, whether he's a police constable or a forest guard or a teacher. Such people need to be identified, removed, where there is irrefutable evidence of their involvement in terrorism. I think this is what actually is required for a peace to be returned in Jammu and Kashmir.
And that's exactly what the agencies and the political class also aims to do in tandem. SP Ware, thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. Ishan continues to be with us, getting us more perspective. Now, Ishan, ever since we've seen the removal or the sacking of these employees that have owed allegiance to Pakistan and its proxies, there is a set kind of narrative that has been set for certain political parties within Jammu and Kashmir that this is further targeting of the local youth. Is that something that we're seeing even now?
Well, yes, absolutely right. It was just yesterday that PDP Chief Member Mufti actually targeted J&K Chief Minister Umar Abdullah, saying that while on the other hand his election manifesto and all the speeches were about not letting certain dismissals take place, but it has been happening despite they taking over as the charge. And initially when these three dismissals took place, it was again Member Mufti who came out in support of all of these three, saying that one of them had received bullet injuries and the government should not take any dismissals like these, and there should be a chance that should be given to them to prove themselves. And similar statements were echoed by Chief Minister Umar Abdullah when he was in Jammu, where he said that there should be a chance that should be given. Now, going back to what it really happened, when 370 abrogation took place, the government brought in a new clause under which they could dismiss anyone who is part of the government while getting funds from the treasury, while earning from the government money, and at the same time orchestrating trouble while sitting in the government's official position. And in certain charge sheets that the government has laid of these persons who you just mentioned, that their kids and sons have been studying outside while they have been trying to orchestrate trouble in Jammu and Kashmir. And that has been the main case and charges, that they have been trying to fund, they have been trying to provide support and logistical support, while they have also said that they are the part of the government and the mechanism that the government of India has drawn in Jammu and Kashmir. And that is why there has been a stringent action that the government has taken. If you look back since 1960s, if you go back to the history, there have been times when such employees who were part of such troubling period of Jammu and Kashmir, who tried to trouble a situation in Jammu and Kashmir, that they then later on joined the government services. Prior to joining government service, they were also involved in such activities, and even after that, they joined government services, but they were not dismissed, they retired. But now what the government has done is that they have launched a multi-agency approach, where they are not only identifying those who are responsible for orchestrating trouble, but are also trying to ensure that this entire what is called as an ecosystem, it is clean, it is ensured that the funds are not generated for them, while the NIA is carrying out raids, while SI is trying to investigate these cases, thoroughly look deep into these issues. At the same time, the government is also trying to do is that they are trying to ensure that there is tight surveillance on social media, on those elements who try to instigate people. And there have been clear directions meeting after meeting by the Home Minister Amit Shah that there should be a multiple agency coordination to ensure that the structure is demolished, and in 2026 is the time has been set by the Home Ministry to ensure that it is militancy free Jammu and Kashmir.
So a deadline has been set, and both the political class and the security agencies working in tandem to try and stick to that deadline, try to ensure that all of these infiltrators are weeded out, at least from government institutions in Jammu and Kashmir. For the moment, Ishan, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. It is time for a quick break here on this edition of Nation at 5. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.
What do you think he wants ultimately?
I think he wants to stop fighting. I see that. We spoke long and hard. Steve Witkoff was with him for a very extended period, like about 3 hours. I think he wants to stop fighting. They have a big, powerful machine, you understand that. And they defeated Hitler and they defeated Napoleon. They've been fighting a long time. They've done it before. And but I think he'd like to. I think he would like to stop fighting.
on your timing of your meeting with Putin in Saudi Arabia?
No, no time set, but it could be very soon.
Like this month?
Well, it'll be soon. We'll see what happens. But they're meeting right now, and that's more. I mean, this should have been done 4 years ago, 3 years ago, before it started. But it should have been done immediately after it started, as opposed to now, 3 years later. Do you have any questions, please?
Sure. Did you speak to Secretary Rubio this morning?
I did.
What is the latest with the negotiations in Saudi Arabia?
We're moving along. We're trying to get a peace with Russia, Ukraine, and we're working very hard on it. It's a war that should have never started.
Do you expect Zelensky to be involved in these conversations? What will his role be?
I do. He will be involved, yes.
Based on your conversations with President Putin, what do you think he wants ultimately in Ukraine?
No, I think he wants to stop. That was my question to him. Because if he's going to go on, that would have been a big problem for us. And that would have caused me a big problem, because you just can't let that happen. I think he wants to end it, and they want to end it fast. Both of them. And Zelensky wants to end it too. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Это мощный сигнал о том, что теперь будем пытаться решать проблемы посредством диалога. И теперь будем говорить о мире, а не о войне. Ведь что было с предыдущей администрацией? Никакого диалога, война до конца. Это была официальная позиция предыдущей администрации. Судя по заявлениям президента Трампа, решаем проблемы через диалог. Никакой войны, нужен мир. Такая позиция, по идее, любому здравомыслящему человеку или государству должна импонировать больше.
И в Россию в любой момент. Соответственно, президент Трамп тоже может приехать, когда захочет.
Ну, конечно.
Когда согласуем разрешительные условия. День Победы пока не детально не рассматривается.
Президент Путин будет рад приветствовать всех глав государств мира, которые готовы разделить с нами радость и гордость за этот день.
Welcome back. You're watching Nation at 5 with me, Poonam Burde. The Congress is mired in yet another controversy after Sam Pitroda's comments on China. He says the India and China issue is blown out of proportion sometimes, and that has now given ammunition to the BJP. The BJP claims this is nothing but Congress's China love, also citing Rahul Gandhi's recent comments praising China on the floor of the House when he was replying to the motion of thanks debate. So far, the Congress has not responded to Sam Pitroda's comments specifically, but they have come out and accused the BJP of trying to politicize needless issues. The Congress, in fact, has distanced itself like they have on multiple occasions as far as Sam Pitroda's statements go. But Rahul Gandhi's recent video showcasing a Chinese-made drone has added a fresh twist to this entire controversy, giving more ammunition to the BJP.
I don't know what is the threat from China. I think there is always this thing blown out of, at times, proportion, because US has the habit of defining an enemy. I think time has come for all of us to really network nations and not have confrontation. Our attitude is that of confrontation from day one. And that attitude creates enemy, and that creates certain support in the country. I think we need to change that pattern. To assume that China is the enemy from day one, it's just not fair, not just to China, but to anybody.
a person with important responsibilities and who's a known figure, when he, sort of takes up a Chinese drone in his hand and then, belittles the entire industry, that's when young people like me also have to speak up, because it's just, quite frustrating that we have 400 plus companies in the country and about 40 to 50 drone component companies who are working very hard to overcome all these challenges. And then someone who's a sort of followed personality by at least some part of the society comes up and holds up a Chinese drone and just says that, we don't understand anything in India, and, this is none of these parts are made in India. So it's quite demotivating essentially. So since, 2021, government has come up, like a front runner, basically with a swinging bat, and, has made sure that policy and the regulations, which is the first aspect that is very clear. In 2021, government proactively, with support of industry and academia, took a stance that we no longer believe that we are confused or we are, looking at drones from a confusion lens. We very clearly understand that drones is a opportunity. Technology has been used since quite some time, but it has to be one of the most important technologies going forward, which is when there was a focus built on making India a global drone hub. First thing that led to this entire focus on drones is that there was a ease of doing business. A regulation came out, which essentially talked about how people can manufacture drones, certify drones, fly, and various other things around the regulation.
Now, there are two aspects to this entire controversy. One, of course, is of the comments that Sam Pitroda has made, and the other one is Rahul Gandhi's recent video where he is showcasing a Chinese-made drone that is now being objected to. Aman, my colleague, now joining us, getting us more perspective. Aman, speaking of Sam Pitroda first, now the Congress has distanced themselves officially, and that's what they do every single time he makes a controversial comment. So does it really cut any ice?
Well, if you remember, Poonam, Sam Pitroda had made a very offensive comment about racism. Last Lok Sabha elections, he also spoke in a very troubling tone about the inheritance tax, which also brought the Congress into a spot of bother. At that time, he had resigned as the chairman of the Indian Overseas Congress, but he was reappointed as the chairman of Indian Overseas Congress just 2 months after the Lok Sabha elections. So Congress brought him back, and now again he's landed them another controversy. So Congress today may again, distance itself from his comments, say we do not agree with what he's saying about China, that China continues to be a big economic strategic challenge for India. That's what Jairam Ramesh has now tweeted. But the fact remains that Sam Pitroda is still the chairman of the Indian Overseas Congress. He's very close to Rahul Gandhi. All of Rahul Gandhi's foreign trips which happen, BJP is pointing out, are organized by Sam Pitroda. All his lectures in foreign universities, which also come under a flack a lot of time because he's in a way attacking the country. That's what BJP says. So right now, Sam Pitroda's comments have again brought the Congress in a soup rather. See, the BJP stand is very clear that China, yes, we have fought a war with them. 38,000 square kilometer of territory of India is with China, which India considers an integral part of our country. So of course there was a Galwan clash as well, and BJP earlier today in a press conference said that whatever Sam Pitroda is saying is an insult to the martyrs of Galwan. So I think BJP is up the ante, which has forced the Congress party to now dissociate itself from Sam Pitroda's comment. The BJP will keep the ante up because they are linking this to also Rahul Gandhi, as you were saying, Rahul Gandhi's comments on the Chinese drones, or be his statement in Parliament while answering the motion of thanks on the President's address, where he had BJP said he had spoken very glowingly about China. So in a way, the BJP trying to say that Rahul Gandhi and Sam Pitroda both remain rather sympathetic towards the Chinese cause.
And that's something that goes way back, isn't it? They also cite this MOU that was signed when the UPA was in power, or the meeting that Rahul Gandhi has had with the Chinese envoy in the past.
Yes, exactly. The 2008 MOU and the meeting, BJP always refers to that the details of this MOU are not public yet, what exactly was signed between both the sides. So I think the BJP has a lot of ammunition when it comes to these matters on China against Rahul Gandhi and the Congress First family. But what is happening is that Sam Pitroda's comments add to that ammunition and always bring back that controversy. So Congress yet again today has had to distance itself from the treatment of its overseas chairman.
And it's interesting that there's no comment so far from Rahul Gandhi specifically about his video. But Aman, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. The BJP is not going to let this up, though. The reactions coming in from the Saffron Party trying to put the Congress in a dock. Listen in to some of those reactions.
सैम पित्रोदा मेंटर है राहुल गांधी के. राहुल गांधी फ्लोर ऑफ द हाउस पे बोल चुके हैं कि हमें चाइना से सीखना चाहिए, हमें चाइना से ये करना चाहिए. राहुल गांधी तो चाइना की पीपल्स लिबरेशन पार्टी के साथ गुप्त समझौता भी साइन कर चुके हैं, और तो छोड़ दीजिए. राजीव गांधी फाउंडेशन चाइना में चाइना से पैसे भी ले चुका है, और पीछे और चलिए. उनके ग्रेट ग्रैंडफादर नेहरू जी ने तो पूरी अक्साई चीन दे दी उठा के, अपनी यूएन सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल की भारत की सीट दे दी चाइना को. तो चाइना और राहुल गांधी और कांग्रेस पार्टी का याराना बहुत पुराना है।
राहुल गांधी एक ऐसे एजेंट हैं जो हिंदुस्तान के इंटरेस्ट के बारे में कम बात करते हैं, चीन या जॉर्ज सोरोस के इंटरेस्ट के बारे में ज्यादा बात करते हैं। राहुल गांधी ने अपने पार्लियामेंट के स्पीच में भारत के बारे में बात करने से ज्यादा चीन के बारे में बात करी थी। पूर्व में भी जवाहरलाल नेहरू जी ने अक्साई चीन को गिफ्ट कर दिया था। ये सब यही दर्शाता है देयर इज अ सॉफ्ट कॉर्नर इन द हार्ट ऑफ राहुल गांधी एंड द कांग्रेस पार्टी फॉर चाइना। राइट हैंड सैम पिट्रोडा हमेशा चीन की तरफदारी क्यों करते हैं?
Moving on now, days after the mandate here in the national capital, now there's a political war of words that has erupted over the cleaning of Yamuna. Remember, the cleaning of Yamuna was one of the focal points of the election campaigning of the BJP, accusing the Aam Aadmi Party, the predecessors, of not doing enough. Now, Yamuna is being cleaned on a war footing. There's a deadline that's being set by the Delhi LG as well. Over the weekend, we saw weed harvesters, trash skimmers and dredge utility craft that were all deployed to remove the debris and pollutants from River Yamuna. In certain places, there was the Yamuna Aarti that was conducted in the latter half of the evening as well. That has now triggered a political fight with the Aam Aadmi Party and one of its allies, the TMC, questioning the Delhi LG of why he didn't show this kind of alacrity when the Aam Aadmi Party was in power.
आज एलजी साहब के माध्यम से एक हाई लेवल कमेटी द्वारा यमुना की सफाई शुरू हो गई है। वीड हार्वेस्टर और थ्रैश स्किनर द्वारा यमुना की सफाई में आज जो अभियान चालू हुआ है, ये 4 लेयर में इस प्रोग्राम को एलजी साहब ने स्टार्ट किया है। ये सरकार की इच्छा शक्ति पर होता है। पिछले कार्यकाल में भी जो केजरीवाल सरकार का कार्यकाल था, उसमें भी ऐसी योजनाएं बनी थी, लेकिन उन्होंने सुप्रीम कोर्ट में मूव करके उन चीजों को रोकने का प्रयास किया था या कहीं ना कहीं बाधाएं डाली थी। मैं सोचता हूं कि आने वाले समय में यमुना जो दिल्ली की आत्मा है, जो दिल्ली का हृदय है, वो दिल्ली वालों के लिए जीवनदायिनी बनेगी और यमुना के जल में हम आचमन भी कर सकेंगे, स्नान भी कर सकेंगे और छठ मैया का त्योहार भी।
यमुना की सफाई के लिए हाईएस्ट लेवल पे कमिटमेंट्स किए गए हैं। एलजी साहब खुद मीडिया में इस पे बात कर चुके हैं। यमुना की सफाई 3 साल में पूरी की जाएगी। दिसंबर 2027 हमारा आउटर डेडलाइन होगा और हमें कॉन्फिडेंस है, एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन को कॉन्फिडेंस है कि हम इसको दिसंबर 2027 से पहले पूरा कर लेंगे। तो जो इंडस्ट्रियल एफ्लुएंट यमुना में बढ़ के आता है, उसको रोकने के लिए ठोस कदम उठाए जाएंगे। दिल्ली पोल्यूशन कंट्रोल बोर्ड, इंडस्ट्री डिपार्टमेंट और एमसीडी मिलकर काम करेंगे और जहां भी इंडस्ट्रियल यूनिट्स ने ये नहीं लगाए हैं और उसके साथ केमिकल्स वो नालियों में फेंक रहे हैं जो अल्टीमेटली बह के यमुना में आ रहा है, उसको रोकने की उचित प्रबंध किए जाएंगे। आप निश्चिंत रहें कि हम इसको टारगेट जो हमें दिया गया है 3 साल का एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन को, 3 साल में यमुना क्लीन मिलेगी।
Akash, my colleague, now joining us, getting us more perspective on this. Akash, over the weekend we saw cleaning of the river Yamuna on a war footing. That has now triggered a political war of words, though, that this deadline that is now being set by the Delhi LG. Why was that not set when the BJP's rivals, the Aam Aadmi Party, were in power here?
The argument is that Aam Aadmi Party did not, have intentions to do it, and the CM himself. In fact, I was listening to one of the interaction of Lieutenant Governor, where he's categorically mentioning that how, once he asked the CM Arvind Kejriwal then to go for a joint inspection of a Najafgarh drain, and he's claiming that he didn't know about Najafgarh drain then. Also, getting from his office and these sources. So these sources are somewhere mentioning that Aam Aadmi Party you work towards cleaning of Yamuna.
We'll try and reconnect that line with my colleague Akash there, but he was pointing out why there is no merit in what the Aam Aadmi Party or its ally, the TMC, are now claiming. That's the response that has come to the fore from the Delhi LG's office as well, as far as the timeline that has now been set for the cleaning of Yamuna and the kind of operations that were seen over the weekend for it. We'll try and reconnect that line, but for now, shifting focus. Now, amid storm over deportations of illegal Indians, over comedians crossing the line, and the controversies that we've seen around Sanatan Dharm, CNN News 18's Rahul Shivshankar spoke with Sadhguru over a range of issues. Listening.
There is a massive controversy raging. Someone called Ranveer Allahabadia, for example, and some of this...
Not Prayagraj.
Prayagraj, yeah. Well, you're up to speed on this, so I have to ask you. This mass outrage about what he said, etc., etc. Was it justified? Should he face criminal action at all? There is talk that he must be brought to justice, etc., etc.
I'm not an expert on this. I don't know if there is a law against such things. I doubt it. But as a society, I think everybody is outraged or disgusted. Some are enraged, some… See, when you see something filthy, some people will get angry and throw stones at it. But when you throw stones at filth, it'll splatter back in your face. Some people will create distance out of their wisdom. But both have happened across the country and probably in many ways across all human beings. Because this is not… See, unfortunately, this… I will use the word very consciously, these kids, because this is American style, you're 35 and you're a kid, all right? It's a crime. If you're 18 and you're still a kid, it's a crime for me. When I was 18, I was thinking of how the world should be, all right? Knowing fully well that you're already reaching millions of people and your only goal is to reach a few more million people, no matter what. People are doing all kinds of things to get attention, which is a terrible thing. This is not a technological issue, this is a social issue. People who are doing this locally, there were people who were talking this kind of trash, even in a local village at some time, there will always be people.
Yeah, now they have a metaphor.
Now they are global, their gossip has become global. There is certain boundaries that you don't cross. But these kids, grown-up kids, who never grow up, they need some growing up. How the country decides to do it, how the society decides to do it, is up to them, it's not for me to say. I don't believe in punishing people, I believe in transforming people.
That was just one of the topics that Rahul Shivshankar spoke to Sadhguru about. The entire interview plays out at 8:55 p.m. here on CNN News 18. Do stay tuned for that. For now, slipping into a quick break.
Brought to you by
What do you think he wants ultimately?
I think he wants to stop fighting. I see that. We spoke long and hard. Steve Witkoff was with him for a very extended period, like about 3 hours. I think he wants to stop fighting. They have a big, powerful machine, you understand that. And they defeated Hitler and they defeated Napoleon. You know, they've been fighting a long time. They've done it before. And but I think he'd like to. I think he would like to stop fighting.
On your timing of your meeting with Putin in Saudi Arabia?
No, no time set, but it could be very soon.
Like this month,
well,
or
it'll be soon. We'll see what happens. But they're meeting right now, and that's more. I mean, this should have been done 4 years ago, 3 years ago, before it started. But it should have been done immediately after it started, as opposed to now, 3 years later. Do you have any questions, please?
Sir, did you speak to Secretary Rubio this morning?
I did.
What is the latest with the negotiations in Saudi Arabia?
We're moving along. We're trying to get a peace with Russia, Ukraine, and we're working very hard on it. It's a war that should have never started.
Do you expect Zelensky to be involved in these conversations? What will his role be?
I do. He will be involved, yes.
Based on your conversations with President Putin, what do you think he wants ultimately in Ukraine?
No, I think he wants to stop. That was my question to him. Because if he's going to go on, that would have been a big problem for us. And that would have caused me a big problem because you just can't let that happen. I think he wants to end it, and they want to end it fast. Both of them. And Zelensky wants to end it too. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Это мощный сигнал о том, что теперь будем пытаться решать проблемы посредством диалога. И теперь будем говорить о мире, а не о войне. Ведь что было с предыдущей администрацией? Никакого диалога, война до конца. Это была официальная позиция предыдущей администрации. Судя по заявлениям президента Трампа, решаем проблемы через диалог. Никакой войны, нужен мир. Такая позиция, по идее, любому здравомыслящему человеку или государству должна импонировать больше.
И в Россию в любой момент. Соответственно, президент Трамп тоже может приехать, когда захочет.
Ну, конечно.
Когда согласуем разрешительные условия. День Победы пока не детально не рассматривается.
Президент Путин будет рад приветствовать всех глав государств мира, которые готовы разделить с нами радость и гордость за этот день.
Thank you for staying with us here on Nation at 5. News now coming in. This is to do with the controversy over comments that were made by Ranveer Alabadia on YouTube show India's Got Latent, the show that Samay Raina has now pulled all episodes of. One of the comedians that was in the dock, Ashish Chanchalani, has now moved the Guwahati High Court seeking anticipatory bail after an FIR was filed against him by the Guwahati police. Yasha, my colleague, now joining us, getting us more details. Yasha, as we see heat mounting on all of these comedians and as FIRs are being filed, one of them now filing for an anticipatory bail?
Absolutely. In fact, now we've seen that Ashish Chanchalani has moved the Guwahati High Court. He has sought an anticipatory bail in the case to be registered by the Guwahati police against the alleged obscene comments that were made on one of the episodes of India's Got Latent. Like you've also mentioned, there have been several series of cases that have been registered against the promoters as well as those who were present as guests on this show, that is India's Got Latent, which is one case is at Khar police station against 30 people. There's an FIR against them. Apart from that, there's a case at Maharashtra Cyber, and similarly, we've also seen how there's another FIR registered at Guwahati. Now, this very FIR was registered on February 12th. Under Section 79, which meant insult and offensive the modesty of a woman. Apart from that, several other sections of Bharatiya and Eyesight and IT Acts have been levied against some of these people. So it is that we've seen that now against this very cases where Ashish Chanchalani has moved Guwahati High Court against the FIR at Guwahati. But parallelly, we've also seen how Ranveer Alabadia has also moved to Supreme Court, where the hearing is now on 20th of February. Now, this is this very move to the Supreme Court is asking all the FIRs to be merged and no case to be and no action to be taken against him. So, which is a real thing. After a series of FIRs being registered, several of his promoters are seeking help from judiciary.
Right, Yasha, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. Moving on now to a controversy that's brewing down south. It's the fight between the central government and the Tamil Nadu state government, where MK Stalin, the chief minister, has alleged that the union government is blackmailing the state and cutting them short of the funds that it deserves because they refuse to implement the national education policy. That has now triggered a massive controversy, with the union education minister himself coming out and responding, rejecting all of the allegations that the state government has made. The AIADMK too now chiming in fact accusing the ruling DMK government of adopting double standards when it comes to central funds. The AIADMK asking the state government why they are making a hue and cry about the national education policy when they've sought funds from the central government to implement the PM Shri School program in the state of Tamil Nadu.
भारत में हम लोग जब राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति सभी लोग मानते हैं, एक आधा राज्य अपने राजनीतिक कारण से पॉलिटिकल इंटरेस्ट है, दे आर नॉट टोइंग द आइडिया. आई नो, आई विल नो, एजुकेशन इज कॉन्करेंट लिस्ट, बट टू क्रिएट ए competition among the students, to create a level playing field. Tamil is one among the oldest language of our civilization. But what is wrong if a student in Tamil Nadu will learn multilingual, come to the multilingual aspect in his study? It can be Tamil, it can be English, it can be a other Indian language. There is no imposition of any Hindi or any language on them.
ஒன்றிய அரசு பட்ஜெட்லேயும் நமக்கு எதுவுமே ஒதுக்கலை, பேரை கூட தவிர்த்துட்டாங்க. செங்கல் புயலுக்கு வந்து கிட்டத்தட்ட ஒரு 6500 கோடி கேட்டோம், ஆனால் ஒன்றிய அரசு வெறும் 600 கோடி தான் கொடுத்தது. அது கூட SDRF தான் கொடுத்தாங்க தவிர அந்த புயல் பாதிப்புக்காக அவங்க கொடுக்கவே இல்லை. தொடர்ந்து தமிழ்நாடு வந்து அவங்க பிறந்தறிக்கிட்டே இருக்காங்க, மாற்றத்தை மனப்போடு பார்த்துட்டு இருக்காங்க. இதுக்கெல்லாம் கண்டிப்பாக தமிழ்நாட்டு மக்கள் தொடர்ந்து கவனிச்சுட்டு இருக்காங்க, பார்த்துட்டு இருக்காங்க. அவங்களுக்கு தரவே எந்த நேரத்தில் பதிலடி தரணுமோ கண்டிப்பாக நிச்சயமாக தருவாங்க. ஆனால் எந்த காலத்திலையும் கல்வி உரிமையை நம்முடைய திராவிட மாடல் அரசு, நம்முடைய மாநில முதலமைச்சர்கள்
தமிழை வைத்து அரசியலிலே தஞ்சம் அடைந்து பிழைப்பு நடத்தி கொண்டிருக்கின்றார்கள் திராவிட முன்னேற்ற கழகம். தமிழ் மொழியை வச்சு பிளப்பு நடத்துறாங்க. மக்கள் யார் பக்கம் பார்ப்போம். மேபி உங்களுக்கு கட்சி கூட்டத்தை நீங்க கூட்டு வரலாம், ஆனால் எங்கள் பக்கம் மக்கள் இருக்கிறாங்க. மக்களுக்கு தெரியும், ஒரு மனிதனுக்கும் தெரியும், அவருடைய குழந்தை மேலே போனதாங்க அப்பா அம்மா நினைப்பாங்க. ஏதாச்சும் ஒரு அப்பா அம்மா குழந்தைய போஸ்ட் ஒட்டுறக்கும் கோந்து எடுத்துட்டு போய் திமுக அறிவாலய வாசல் அடிமையாக ஏதாச்சும் ஒரு தன்மானம் இருக்கக்கூடிய தமிழை நினைப்பானா? ஆனால் சவாலை நாங்கள் ஏற்றுக்கொண்டு விட்டோம். களத்தில் சந்திப்போம். நான் 3 மொழி கொள்கையை ஆதரித்து களத்தில் நிற்கப் போகின்றேன். பாரதிய ஜனதா கட்சி நிற்கும், எங்க தலைவர்கள் தொண்டர்கள் எல்லாம் நிற்பாங்க. பட்டி தொட்டி எல்லாம் எடுத்துட்டு போறோம்.
Purnima now joining us, getting us more perspective. Purnima, as far as this centre versus state fight goes over funds, it's not just limited to this particular instance, isn't it? The state government has been accusing the central government of stepmotherly treatment to the state for a long time now.
Absolutely. That's something that the DMK government has reiterated on many occasions. The recent one being that funds are withheld to Tamil Nadu, and over 2,500 odd crore rupees that's meant for Tamil Nadu was in fact given to Gujarat and Uttar Pradesh, was the accusation that came in from Chief Minister MK Stalin just a week ago. And now once again both Udayanidhi Stalin and DMK leaders maintain that stepmotherly treatment is meted out to Tamil Nadu, which is why even in the union budget Tamil Nadu was not mentioned, and that's because people did not vote for the BJP. The BJP is ignoring Tamil Nadu. That's the statement coming in from the DMK, and the BJP says these are mere lies and people of Tamil Nadu know the truth and there's no Hindi imposition. It's just trying to ensure that every student in Tamil Nadu be given an opportunity to learn 3 languages, and they could choose any language, not just Hindi, is what the DMK maintains.
Right, Purnima, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. The political war of words, though, only escalating. Let's listen in.
The first and foremost, I wish to state on record that MK Stalin is a pathological liar, the most incompetent chief minister in India. It is his same DMK government which last year wrote a letter to the central government stating that they are willing to establish PM Shri schools in the state of Tamil Nadu. PM Shri schools are model schools following the NEP, which means that they are okay for a 3-language policy here. if you have written a letter stating that we are interested to establish PM Shri schools, what is this tug of war all about the three language policy? See, if you are ideologically driven, there should not be any change in your stand. Unlike AIADMK, our stand is very clear since the party is formed. For the last 54 years, we are okay with the two-language policy. And our leader, General Secretary, yesterday reiterated the same in the rally at Vellore yesterday. We are okay with the two-language policy. And don't try to impose upon us on any other language, particularly Hindi. But why is this double standards of DMK?
ஒரு மொழி திணிப்பு என்று வரும்பொழுதுதான் அதை எதிர்க்கிறோம். அதை தான் அவங்க புரிந்து கொள்ள வேண்டும். மொழியை ஒரு சாய்ஸாக எடுத்து படிக்கிறதுக்கும் மொழியை திணிக்கப்படும் பொழுது வேறு வழி இல்லாமல் அதை படிக்க வேண்டிய அவசியம் ஏற்படும் போதும் இருக்கக்கூடிய வித்தியாசத்தை பிஜேபியில் இருக்கக்கூடிய எல்லாரும் புரிந்து கொள்ள வேண்டும். கேவியில் பிஜேபி ஆட்சிக்கு வருவதற்கு முன்னால் ஜெர்மன் மொழி சொல்லி கொடுத்துருந்தாங்க. இவங்க ஆட்சி பொறுப்பு வந்த பிறகு அந்த மொழியை எடுத்துட்டு சமஸ்கிருதம் படிக்கணும் அப்படின்னு சமஸ்கிருதம் திணிக்கப்பட்டது. சமஸ்கிருதம் படித்த பிள்ளைகளுக்கு என்ன பயன் இருக்க முடியும்னு நம்ம கேட்கலாம். ஆனால் இப்படி மொழி திணிப்பு, ஆதிக்கத்தை திணிப்பு இதையெல்லாம் தொடர்ந்து ஒன்றிய அரசாங்கம் செய்து கொண்டிருக்கிறது. அதனால தான் இந்த மொழி திணிப்பை, ஹிந்தி திணிப்பை எதிர்க்கிறோம்.
See, the new education policy is emphasizing to promote our youths towards the international demands, and our youths has to be compete to the international level. Further technically, and they want to be strong. That's why the new education policy, no one is not pressurizing. If you want, if you do that, you see. If someone want to, three languages are coming. If with Uttar Pradesh they want to study another language, they may take Tamil. Even Rajasthan, they may take Tamil. So Tamil it's going to promote only. So what is the problem for CM Tamil Nadu? See, his main motive is to politicize the things.
In the name of national education policy, the NEP, and they are trying to impose a particular language, and it cannot be accepted. We have multiple languages in our country. All languages are Indian languages. All languages are national languages. It is not that one language becomes national language, other languages are not. And the union government can treat one language with all favors and protections. Other languages can be undermined. This we oppose. What Ms. Udayanidhi Stalin has said, there is a point. It is a concern. Let us see how the union government is going to behave. Our question.
Hello, Navaiva. Welcome. You're watching Plain Speak, and I'm Tritsween Walia. Viewers, in a big move, the United States Department of Government Efficiency, led by Elon Musk, scrapped a $21 million US taxpayer grant under former President Joe Biden's administration. Now, why is it important to us here in India? Why has this become such a big news break? This grant, viewers, was meant to influence quote-unquote voter turnout in India. Dropping a big bombshell, DOGE highlighted that $21 million were part of the larger $486 million budget allocated